Hi, I'm Sue Bova, and you're watching Welcome Home Doggy, where we talk about creating a better quality of life for dogs. Today, we're going to talk with Jen Wagner of the Animal Alliance of Georgia. They're a nonprofit that specializes in education, outreach, and advocacy. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Hi, Jen. Welcome to Welcome Home Doggy.
Thank you so much.
It is great to have you here. And who do we have?
This is Evie.
Evie, you are adorable. Tell us a little about her.
Evie came to me via Society of Humane Friends, which is a rescue that me personally and our group work closely with. She came from a situation with an elderly lady in Atlanta that had several dogs that she could no longer care for. And when I got her, she weighed 32 pounds.
Wow, so she was really heavy.
She was very heavy.
My goodness. And so what does she weigh now?
She weighs about 26 pounds now.
How did you get her weight to drop?
Basically just by cutting back, which is difficult because she truly loves to eat.
Are you a foodie, Evie? She's a foodie.
Which is why she's not any lighter than she is, because you don't want to deprive them too much and you don't want to make drastic changes.
Sure.
But she's at a weight where she can do anything she wants. She can run, she can jump. So she's pretty happy, and as long as we keep her right about where she is, I'm happy too.
No, she's just a love. Well, and so well behaved. That's awesome.
She's a good girl.
And thank you for rescuing, right? Very important.
Would not do anything else.
I know, me too. So, let's start first with how many pets you have and what type of pets are they?
I currently have 2 dogs. I have Evie, and we just recently adopted a Chihuahua from Society of Humane Friends, who came from a situation in Henry County. I believe there are about 150 Chihuahuas total. In this situation. They were living in crates on top of one another, and they subsequently spent 7 months at the local animal control before the woman relinquished them. So she's a little shy, but she's with us now. I've got 5 cats, which I didn't intend to do, but...
So wait a minute, let me ask you a question. How do you have 5 cats that you didn't intend to do?
Well, our oldest cat, Pearl, was returned to us. We had adopted her out as a kitten, and she was returned. The lady couldn't keep her, and Pearl decided that she wasn't going anywhere. When I tried to take her to adoptions in the crate, she would hiss and spit and bite at people.
Yep, she didn't want to go.
So she's with us. Hyde and Smidge were... Smidge I adopted. They both came from Habersham Animal Control. Smidge I adopted straight out. Hyde was supposed to be a foster, and he never went anywhere. He's my big boy. Serafina came to us as a foster from Society of Humane Friends. She was a barn kitten who we believe was stepped on by a horse. So she has a paralyzed back end. And she has to have her bladder and bowels expressed. She can't potty on her own. But she ended up winning my husband's heart. So she's with us. And the final one, Charlotte, was also supposed to be a foster. She came to us as a kitten. We don't know quite what had happened, but she had 2 dislocated pelvises on each side, a very badly broken leg, and a tail pull injury, which essentially separates the spinal cord close to the tail. So Society of Humane Friends graciously spent thousands of dollars to fix her legs. We had to amputate her tail because she had no feeling in it, and she also needs to be expressed. But we lost, my mother passed away in September.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. And Charlotte just makes my life a little brighter. So I decided she wasn't going anywhere either. So that's how we ended up with 5 cats, one of whom I think intended to stay, but we love them all very, very much, and they make our life better.
That's amazing. Any other animals on the...
No, we had 2 or 3 years ago had 5 dogs and 1 cat, most of whom were also foster failures, but I won't say it was a mistake. We got them roughly about the same time at the same age, and they were with us for 10, 12 years, but dogs get old. and we lost a bunch of them in a short period of time.
I know that's tough,
It
right?
is tough.
Losing one is hard enough, let alone multiple, right?
I think we lost 3 in a year.
Oh my gosh, wow.
So right now with the cats, you have to make sure that you have the funds to take care of everybody if they have needs.
Yes.
We're going to stay where we are for right now, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to rescue more as time goes on.
Yeah, I have 3 rescues, and I just fostered a 4th, and I had her for 2 months. She was a medical dog, and I fell in love with her, right? But to your point, right, you have certain, medical expenses with your other dogs, and the amount of time you start to divide yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And so, and then, the happy ending is she went to a woman who absolutely needed her and loved her. And so there's a purpose for all of us in that chain, right?
Absolutely.
From the people who pull the dogs, the fosters, the vets, getting them well, and then preparing them for their forever home. So thank you. My goodness, you guys are just amazing.
It's my pleasure. It's a blessing to me and my family every day.
It is, isn't it? It's just, they're joyful. So how and when did you start the Animal Alliance of Georgia?
Well, it started out, I didn't start it myself. The way it started out back in 2015, there was a group of us that got together to try to ban unattended tethering in Gwinnett County. Unattended tethering brings with it a number of problems, not just that the dogs are neglected, but the dogs often become, should we say, stir crazy? Because they're pack animals. They're not meant to be by themselves, isolated on a chain, away from their family, away from their pack. Often they're not fixed, and they will become very territorial of the area they're in. So they become a danger in some ways to the neighborhood. And in the end, it also lowers property values because people don't want to buy a house next to a dog that's outside, maybe barking all the time, maybe, being aggressive with other animals that come on the property. Sure. So we said, it's time. Gwinnett is, we're not a rural county anymore. Not that that justifies it, but it was time to change it. So we got together. We worked very hard, and we ended up getting the law changed so that now no unattended tethering is allowed in Gwinnett County.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you. I can't tell you, there were people who contributed more than I did. It was a team effort. We couldn't have done it without everybody.
Right.
So after that was accomplished, we decided we wanted to go on and continue to work on things. I came into the mix wanting to do outreach. When I was with Society of Humane Friends, which I still am to a certain extent, I started to want to do outreach into communities because, one, we can't rescue our way out of the overpopulation problem. There just are not enough homes. Right. 2, we have wonderful resources in Gwinnett and Atlanta in terms of low-cost spay-neuter clinics that are accessible to everyone, but you can't make people go to them. And most people that will take advantage of them have already gone. So how do we start reaching those communities that don't go, that don't view spay-neuter as a normal part of pet ownership? Right. So I started a couple of trailer park outreaches and vaccine clinics with Society of Humane Friends. That's not their primary objective, and I understand that completely. Sure. So I saw joining Animal Alliance of Georgia an opportunity to make that the priority, to make that the main mission, to be able to assist people with the cost of spay-neuter if they couldn't afford it, and to start going into communities where it wasn't the norm and start to change that culture.
Now that's absolutely so key, and we're going to talk more about that because you've nailed the root cause, right, of overpopulation and so many other things, the domino effect that happened from that. So obviously, right, advocacy, education, outreach, those 3 things, right, are so important when we talk about changing laws and ordinances, people's minds, and even their behaviors, right? Not just here in Georgia or anywhere. So let's break those down, like those 3 pillars. And from an advocacy, education, and outreach perspective, what are some things that the Alliance does in each one of those categories?
Advocacy is probably the one that right now we do the least on because that involves more working with legislation, supporting organizations that specifically do legislation. Right. We're small. Right. We would love to have our fingers in all of those pies. Right. So we do a little bit with advocacy in terms of letting people know if there is a good or a bad bill in the Georgia legislature and encouraging people to contact their representatives, making them aware of what's going on and what they need to do to either support or oppose a bill.
Right.
Obviously, we can't support or oppose candidates, but when we can, with the limitations we have right now, we support good legislation and oppose bad legislation.
Right, right.
Education in many ways is a function of the outreach. We have had opportunities to go into schools and talk to the kids.
Wonderful.
And we certainly use our outreach events as opportunities to educate our clients as to not just spay neuter, not just ownership, but a lot of our clients don't understand about parvo. They don't know what it is. They don't know how it's spread. They don't know about heartworm. It's something that just is not done. So that's a lot of our educational opportunities right now. Excellent. Is to work within our outreach.
Right. Very good. Very
outreach
good.
Obviously is...
And it's a combination, right?
Sure.
Right? Outreach goes with education, outreach goes with advocacy, or outreach is sort of the underpinning of that activity.
You can't really separate them. They all go together.
Right, right. Very good. No, that's excellent. So, congratulations again on the big win in 2015,
Thank you.
To banning tether. And we know that it's happened in other counties. It's never an easy fight and challenge. So talk about that journey, right? How you went through it, and you didn't win the first time, and what it took to actually win that ban.
It was difficult because we were dealing with some of the commissioners that had somewhat old school values. Gwinnett initially was a rural area. We had a couple of commissioners that felt that it wasn't anyone else's business what people did with their dogs. You have the same type of mentalities that you have at the Capitol with the breeder lobby and the hunting lobby, where they want to be able to treat their dogs solely as property. So it took not just education in that regard, but it took consistency, and it took a great deal of encouraging just the general public to make their views known. First, we had to educate the public. Not everybody understood why. A lot of it came down to not necessarily animal welfare issues, but money. Again, the property value issue.
Right.
If you don't care so much about dogs, and some people don't.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
Absolutely. Right.
You're going to care if somebody moves in next to you, chains their dogs, and then you can't sell your house.
Correct.
You're going to care if your insurance premiums go up because you have dogs running in your neighborhood and there's issues there. You're going to care if your taxes go up because you have dogs that are chained in a yard unfixed, having litter after litter of puppies that may or may not be adoptable, that get surrendered to animal welfare.
Right.
And there's a cost involved in that. So it took multiple rounds of both working with the commissioners, talking to them, working with animal welfare, getting their viewpoint. They weren't allowed to come out for or against it officially, but they could tell us figures which we could then take and use.
Right.
And it took just hammering over and over again. Come to the meetings, sign the petitions, email your commissioners. And it finally got to the point where the commissioners said, okay, we understand, we get it.
We get it.
This is not something that we want to see in our county. They are very big on excellence in Gwinnett, and we managed to convince them that this was not compatible with excellence.
No, and that's great. So talk about that timeline from start to finish.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
The way I get into a lot of it, we had my initial foray into rescue, and I may be going a little far afield here.
Well, actually, let me rephrase that.
Okay.
From the time you started, fighting for the ban on tether to the time you actually got it approved by the commissioners.
Well, again, it was, I can't give you a specific time frame.
Ballpark.
It all kinds of flows together. We had the initial meetings. We had, even before that, we had the threat of breed-specific legislation in the county with a prior commissioner. Yeah. So that's how I got involved in that and getting to know the ins and the outs of how to lobby the commission, how to get the public involved. So the commissioner that wanted that, fortunately, we got him replaced. Unfortunately, we got him replaced with another commissioner that was just as bad on animal issues. But yeah, it basically, it was an issue that we all saw as a problem.
Did it take like a year or 2 years? Because I want people to understand these things just don't happen like in a couple months.
No.
Some pieces of legislation, especially in the state or federal level, can take 5, 6, 10 years even. Local ordinances, sometimes a little bit easier, but it depends who your commissioners are.
I would say it took us about a year and a half.
Okay,
from complete start to finish.
That sounds about right, for a local ordinance. So no easy lift, right?
No, and I hate to admit this, but about halfway, 2/3 of the way through the process, I got discouraged and I stepped back. And some of my other founding members of AAG stepped forward. Oh, and thank God they did.
Well, you get tired, right? There's fatigue, what I call, advocate fatigue, right? Because you can only have that conversation so many times. And then sometimes you have to let a fresh, somebody come in who's not as, burnout, right? Because, these are lawmakers. And here's, kind of my next point. And I think you discovered this, and it was key to your win, is, you talk about on the website polite persistence. And in doing some work with your sister organization, I've done work with the Georgia Pet Coalition, right? They speak about, polite persistence as being the key ingredient when you're talking to any lawmaker at whatever level, local, state, or federal, right? Do you provide sort of any training or education for the people that are part of your organization before they go and talk to their local lawmakers?
Well, when we say people that are part of our organization, we don't have a lot of full-time members. We've got our board. We've got the vets and techs we work with. So when we have people that go to speak to the board or to write letters, it's primarily our followers and the general public. But absolutely, you can do more damage to your cause by not being polite than if you oppose the cause to begin with. Right. Because it is very easy for people who already do not support you to write you off as nuts and fanatics if you are not polite and persistent. We had one of the commissioners that it was the problem. I don't know whether I can mention his name or not. He's not. Yeah. He's not a commissioner any longer. Okay, sure. He's gone, but he actually said to people on the phone that he felt that some of the major organizations like HSUS were domestic terrorist organizations. And you laugh because that's such an exaggeration, right? It's hyperbole. But bottom line is, plenty of lawmakers have slapped that label on the animal community in general, right? Because of big organizations in the past, and I won't say organization names, but it created these furious people who would yell and scream and curse and all of these things, and it gave the movement a bad name. And so what we're trying to do here in Georgia, and I know other states as well, is rebrand, right? Come with one voice, right? Come as a professional to professional, right? Polite persistence. Recognize they have a job to do. It's not an easy one, right? They have all kinds of people coming at them, but to educate them, right? Give them talking points, and then be consistent, right? And then that's how you won, right? Polite persistence, consistency, and a year and a half later, you won this amazing ban for tethering. And it was so gratifying with all the effort that was put in to finally get that win for the dogs and the people. It's not just the dogs, although the dogs are the heart of it. It's important for the communities and the families. Yeah, Evie agrees. Evie got up on that key point. Good job, Evie. Yeah, she's listening. So, and one of the things we talked about earlier in the interview was spay and neuter, right? What are some of the most important reasons that a pet owner should spay or neuter their dog? Well, the primary reason that we encourage spay and neuter is the pet overpopulation issue. Dogs continue to die in shelters. There are far too many dogs to put them all in homes. So it's a very basic concept, is that until the leading cause of death for dogs is not shelter euthanasia, then we need to continue to work on spay and neuter. There's also the health benefits for the animals. We have had more than one client with pyometra, which is an emergency situation that is 100% preventable by spaying. You have animals that get cancers of their reproductive organs, and that is also 100% preventable. You have behavioral issues, and we talk to clients about this all the time. Will my dog calm down? Will he stop marking in the house? Will he stop running away?
Yeah.
It's not 100%, but if your dog is running away because he smells dogs in heat, up to a mile away, then yes, neutering him will help solve that problem.
Absolutely, right? And that aggression, because one of my in rescue, right, we spay neuter, and that is definitely the behavior change, right, before Tuxie got neutered and after, right, because he was very aggressive, and that's just because that's what he needed, right? And so it's really a positive and a healthy thing.
It is.
To do.
We have to acknowledge there's always some controversy about spay neuter. There have been studies about large dogs and joint issues. And in a perfect world, I would be fine with people waiting to spay and neuter until a year, 2 years, whatnot.
Right.
But again, we talk to more clients where they're oopsie litters. It's not something they intended or planned, but because they put it off. Cats can start reproducing at 4 months. Dogs can start at 6. It only takes 1. I've heard stories of them doing it through fences. It really, they don't care.
Wow, so that's a little entertainment off your deck one night. Look over to the left.
And the only way to 100% prevent that is by spaying and neutering. And I know that there are people that are 100% responsible with unfixed dogs. 99% of us are not that responsible to completely prevent the opportunity for any litters. So on number of levels, it is the right thing to do for the vast majority of people.
No, that's great. Thank you for sharing that expertise. So, the human side of this, right? You talk about going into the underserved communities, which is so important. What are some of the things that you've learned through your work over the years?
Before I started doing outreach work, when I was just in rescue, I probably had the same kind of attitude that you see in a lot of animal advocates, in that the people who don't spay neuter, who don't vaccinate, they don't care about their pets. They don't love their pets. They just are irresponsible and bad people. When I go into these communities, I don't find people who don't care about their pets. I find people who love their pets very, very much. But I find people who have grown up in a culture where this is just, it's not even on their radar.
Right.
It's not something they've heard about and rejected.
It's an education
they
thing,
haven't
right?
Heard about it
exactly.
At all. Exactly.
If you don't know, you don't know.
We did, in 2019, June 2019, we went into Norcross.
Okay.
We rented out a piece of land from Gwinnett Parks. There wasn't a building on it. It was just the land. I went around Singleton Road and put up flyers that we were offering free vaccines, free spay-neuter sign-up, food, collars, leashes. Nice. We had people park. We had to use the field next to us for parking. We probably served 250 clients on that day. These were not people who didn't care about their pets.
No, that's huge.
Yes, and we were so glad to be able to do it. And the people, they waited in June in Georgia.
Yeah,
they stood
so
outside
hot, right?
Waiting.
Oh my gosh!
And
did you have enough vaccines
us.
For everyone with a turnout like that?
We try to over-plan so that if that happens, we can serve everybody, because we don't know when we're going to be back.
Yeah.
We have met people. The very first event I did, when I was still with Society of Humane Friends, we met an elderly gentleman and his wife that had been trying to do trap neuter return.
Oh, right, TNR.
In the community. And we're doing the best. I mean, he was a military veteran, 80 years old, he and his wife. And all they wanted was some help doing it. They knew what to do.
Yeah.
They just didn't have the money. And we gratefully helped them. Lovely, lovely people. I got a call the other day from one of my clients at the Pine Valley Trailer Park in Lawrenceville, where we had been doing outreaches before we spread into larger areas.
Okay.
At the first event we did with them, we had to go to her trailer because she had so many cats that she couldn't bring them to us where we were.
Oh my gosh.
I had to fight with her about getting them fixed, about relinquishing kittens to rescue.
How did you have that conversation? When you say fight, right? I know
Well,
what you're saying. It's a struggle,
fight.
right? It was probably a struggle.
Talking and talking. But now we're at the point where it was her son. Her son translates because she doesn't speak English.
Okay.
Her son called me and said, we have 2 new female cats. Can you fix them for us? And I said, absolutely.
What a success story, right?
Yes. And I went, and this is from a trailer park where I would make appointments for spay and neuter. I would confirm them. I would show up, and they still wouldn't come out of the trailer. Oh. Now I show up. The cats are already in the carrier, ready to go. They're there for me to pick them up. I brought them back, and they thanked me.
Oh my gosh, the work, right? Just this nugget of your work is so profound, and it's so important. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that.
It is so incredibly gratifying to work with these people and to start to let them know that there are things they can do for their pets to make their pets' life better, which in return makes their lives better.
Absolutely, right? Which is the premise of Welcome Home Doggy, right? Improving the quality of life of dogs. What are your top 2 or 3 goals for this year, 2021?
This year, I think, along with everybody else, has been difficult because of the COVID situation. We are still
coming out of it.
We had to slow down a little bit with our vaccine clinics, and that's how we raise most of our funds. We have low-cost vaccine clinics that are open to the public, where we do $10 vaccines, $20 vaccines, $25 microchipping. So we've had to slow down on that a little bit, which has affected funds. I won't say we've perfected a non-contact technique, but we've gotten pretty good at it, where people stay in their cars until it's their turn. So we are hoping to expand that into areas where we haven't been.
Okay.
We are hoping to be able to go down into South Georgia. One of our board members is the director of the Thomasville Humane Society.
Oh, wonderful.
Which is almost to Florida.
Yeah.
So we're going to go down there and try to do a big vaccine clinic, not just to raise money, which we need to do,
of course,
but to be able to provide low-cost vaccines to people who,
need it. They absolutely need it.
There are some people that say, well, you're taking money away from vets. No, we're not.
There's not a vet probably within 50 miles of some of those folks, and they can't get there to get them spayed or neutered.
Who go to a vet.
Right.
They can't afford it.
Right.
So it's not a matter of taking money away from vets. It's a matter of harm reduction, because these are animals that wouldn't be vaccinated anyway.
Correct.
So we're hoping to do
anything's a win, right?
Anything.
Even if you get 10%, right, it's a win.
Yes.
Sure.
So we are hoping to spread out.
So you travel, right, down?
We're going to. That is one of our things that we would like to do, is to spread out beyond our current bounds to reach communities we haven't reached.
Okay.
To be able to work with them, not just low-cost vaccines, but education on the spay and neuter and all of those things. Eventually, if we can raise the funds, our first big goal is to buy a van.
So that is so people wanted to support your organization after watching, right, our episode today. They could go to your website and make a donation, and you would funnel that towards the vaccines and towards the vehicle,
the van. Money first goes to paying for spay and neuter.
Right, spay and neuter.
Obviously, because that's goal 1.
Okay.
And then it goes to support day-to-day.
Okay.
And when we go above and beyond that, we're working on, there's a software program we need to be able to grow, so working on that. We need a van to be able to transport.
Somebody could donate a van.
Somebody could
donate a van.
We would love it. And then the end goal, once we have the van and everything else in place, our goal is to purchase a used travel trailer.
Okay.
And convert it to a mobile spay neuter unit.
Oh, how amazing. Those mobile spay neuter units are the fix for the rural communities. And, so that's
And I know
great.
a lot of people, a lot of organizations will go out and buy a custom-made trailer.
Right.
There's an organization called Bad Rap out in California that I follow closely, and they do a lot of this work out in Oakland. And I had a long talk with one of their founders. He said, don't spend the money on a custom-made trailer. Right. It's so much cheaper. They convert vans, which works great locally. If we want to go into South Georgia, North Georgia, East Georgia, we're going to need a bathroom. we're going to need HVAC. We're going to need running water.
Yep.
A travel trailer already has all that.
Yeah.
So we tear out what we don't
Got
need.
it. Yep.
Put in the surgical equipment, keep what we do need,
Uh-huh.
hook it up to that van,
Yeah.
and drive it all over the place.
Love it.
And
what
that
a
is the
great
end
goal. Oh my gosh, that's exciting. So I hope you achieve it,
so
and
too.
sooner rather than later, because, you know, Jen, thank you. All of the work that the Animal Alliance of Georgia does, and you personally, is so important. It's so necessary.
It's a privilege. It's something that, you know, I have people tell me that, and I get to do this work.
That's a great way to phrase it. And I can tell the joy and passion from your experiences is evident in your face and your demeanor and everything that you shared with us today. Really, it's so important for animals and humans, all the work that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap for our show today. But tune in next week for another episode where we're going to help you create a better life for your dog and all dogs. If you'd like to have more information on our show today and our guest, please visit our website, subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram, and like us on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Welcome Home Doggy. So this was really great, and Abby was so
Thank you.
good
She's
today.
very, very good.
Oh my goodness, you're such a good girl.